This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
To She Wasn't Born Yesterday for women who are 40 plus fabulous by the Empty Nest Chicks. I'm Janet Evans, ex-M&C Saatchi advertising creative who have won numerous radio and TV awards. Not that that'll affect us because we're doing a podcast.
And I'm Dr. Amelia Haynes, who has been a medical doctor for 30 years and specialising in sexual health and mental health and relationships, and I'm generally a very useful human being.
Well, we'll find out about that, but we are here to work together.
People tell me on good authority that I am.
Really? Yes, well, they never say that to me, so I think we're the perfect hosts for She Wasn't Born Yesterday. Well, Dr. Amelia, today we are chatting to someone very, very incredibly important and special, and we're so thrilled to have her on. She wasn't born yesterday. But look, I just want to say, Australia, we've done incredibly well in the Olympics, but unfortunately we do have a rather dubious honour as well. We have the highest rate of melanoma in the world.
Yes.
And we know that melanoma is the most common cancer in young Australians, 20 to 39-year-olds, but it's also high and increasing in people who are 40 plus, especially people who are over 60. That's incredible, isn't it? Don't you think, with the level of awareness that there seems to be around skin protection these days?
Well, these days there is a lot more understanding, but that's certainly not something that we'd say was around when we were little. Even though there was slip, slop, slap, wasn't there? In truth, there was. There was, but I don't know about you, but back in the sort of early 1920s when I was a kid, a tan sort of equaled great health, and, reef oil was all the thing, and you'd go on the beach and there'd be that whiff of coconut oil and, a smear of pink zinc on the nose and off you go, kids, and spend the whole day on the beach. So, and there was, I think SPF 15 or something was the top level at the time. Today, we have all these incredible protections at our disposal, but we do.
The other day I was reading about this really disturbing TikTok trend, and what it is all about hashtag sunburn challenge and hashtag tanning. And it's celebrating young women going out into the sun when the UV is at its most extreme and glamorising these extreme tans with 2 or 3 hours lying in the sun and no protection. And it's become a sort of a thing. And unfortunately, TikTok says, we're sort of banning all of that. But if you search for tanning, the top videos are still promoting this sun exposure.
I think it still represents, human beings love doing things that make everyone realise that they're rich and they're able to lie around and do nothing. Being able to lie around and do nothing now means that you have a tan, where it used to mean that you were as pale as a ghost. But anyway,
But so today we are very thrilled to welcome Professor Georgina Long, AO, I think that's adults only, to She Wasn't Born Yesterday. She is the co-medical director of Melanoma Institute Australia, chair of the Melanoma Medical Oncology, and joint recipient of the 2024 Australian of the Year Award. Congratulations and welcome, Professor Georgina.
Yay.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm really pleased to be talking about something I'm very, very passionate about.
Wow, we're so excited. But because you probably just don't have enough to do, I read recently that you also like to run marathons. And so my first question for you would be, do you think achieving 0 deaths from melanoma is a marathon, or is it a bit more of a sprint these days?
Great question. I think achieving anything quite enormous, including 0 deaths from melanoma, which is achievable, is a marathon. It's about strategy. It's about thinking about the issues. What are the problems? What are the barriers we've got to overcome? It's not a straight line like a marathon is. It's a wiggly line. It's being creative about the problems that arise. And sometimes it can take time to discover what are some of the roots of the problem. Why is it we have a glamorization of tanning issue? It wasn't so prevalent about a decade ago, not as prevalent as it is now. How can we tackle that? What are at our means? What's our multi-pronged approach? So I see it as a marathon, but not a straight line marathon. It's a wiggly road.
Yeah, and I suppose that different people have different kind of inputs that they can give. So you're giving an amazing scientific medical input, which has been, an absolute game changer. But even, actually the now very humble or common kind of influencer can actually play their part.
That's a great point, because one of the issues with the glamorization of tanning, and tanning is your skin's SOS. It's a signal that it's under stress. That's what a tan is. It's saying, I'm stressed out. I need to find a defense to try and stop making cancer. When we have that SOS, the very platform that has created this glamorization of tanning may in fact be the very solution to the problem.
Yeah.
And you've hit on it with influencers. And how do we make that happen? Because these platforms are content based on the users. TikTok's a beautiful example. TikTok is made by its users. So, you can get TikTok to do a certain, administratively and organizationally do certain things. But at the end of the day, we need the content providers, the users, to change their attitude.
We need you, Georgina Long, to suddenly come up with a new dance that just goes absolutely viral. That's what we need. Actually, Georgina, the other thing is that we should point out that this podcast too is to 40-plus women who are 40-plus. And I was going to say they definitely have teenage children and younger who are very influenced by TikTok, but then they also are doing the kind of the panic because they're seeing that their friends and their parents are actually succumbing to the disease of melanoma. And yes, the news is better, but it's sort of like they're two-headed in their kind of worry about melanoma now.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Absolutely. It is a worry. They can see at one end the dangers of it and what happens, and then they look at the other end, the risk-taking adolescents, and see, oh dear, this is what's in for them if I don't help them, and feel that anxiety and panic. And then also they're role models as well themselves. So glamorization of tanning is not just about getting out, stopping people or getting them to think about not getting a tan out in the real UV sun, but fake tan, that glamorizes tanning. And so there's a lot of women 40 and over using fake tan. But remember, when you do that, you are modeling that a tan is beautiful, sophisticated, etc.
That's right.
And that will only enhance the behavior of adolescents.
I know they should ban Dancing with the Stars.
No. What they need is Dancing with the Stars, but what's the saying? Know the skin you're in and love the skin you're in and own your tone. Own your tone.
Yeah.
Also, that really kind of cuts Donald Trump out of the picture. So, but we don't want to politicize this. But
what's this?
The certain role models, should be taken out of the picture, I feel. But, so, as 40-plus fabulous people, Professor Georgina, is it too late? Like, once we've had that skin damage from childhood, perhaps, what can we do at 40-plus to protect ourselves further and or prevent any real damage from happening?
Great question, because there is a lot people can do, which is the good news. So we know, just like smoking, for instance, another big health issue, a public health issue that we did very well in Australia, whenever you start to become sun safe and be aware of UV or sun on your skin and its negative impact and the risk of skin cancers. I'm talking about the risk of skin cancer.
Yeah.
Whenever you start being sun safe, you will start decreasing your risk of skin cancer down the track. So even if you're 50, 60, you start being sun safe, you will reduce your risk of skin cancer for whatever life you have left.
Yes.
So the good news is, start any age, it will have a positive impact.
Wow. So it's never too late.
Never too late.
Wow, that's awesome.
Just like smoking.
Yeah.
Just to be the devil's advocate for a second, I'm so sorry, Georgina, I'm so sorry. But I myself, which lots of our listeners will know, I myself have MS, and I've just been reading a book by a gorgeous Australian emergency doctor called Georgina. He actually advocates for vitamin D, of course, being very, very helpful for MS. But I suppose on top of that, it's also very helpful for women who are getting older and having strong bones. So talk to us about that for a second.
So, yeah, very good point. And it is a fine line. With anything in health, except for smoking, there's nothing good about smoking. So vitamin D comes from the UV. We produce it when UV or sunlight, UV radiation hits our skin. The lighter you are, the more efficient you are at making vitamin D. So the fairer people do not need much time in UV to produce good quantities of vitamin D, and darker people need longer to make good quantities of vitamin D. Vitamin D can also be taken as a tablet very easily.
Yes.
What does vitamin D do? It has multiple impacts. It's an important vitamin for bone strength. So it's part of our calcium and parathyroid hormone cycle. So it's important for our bones. So it's also important for our immune system, and it has many other effects.
At this point, I think it would be hilarious if our listeners could see us, because all three of us, I have to say, are very kind of Anglo-Celtic background. We're very pale. So obviously we're all recipients in a very short amount of time of a good amount of vitamin D if we even just kind of wave at the sun early in the morning.
That's right. So we do need our vitamin D. It's all about doses and exposure. And the rule of thumb is for a very fair person, 5 minutes, wrist to elbow is enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so a bit longer for people who are darker. But what you can also do can take vitamin D replacement if needed. And I know many of my patients, so I'm a medical oncologist, I'm a trialist, clinical trialist. I see about 80 to 100 patients a week with really bad melanoma. And I also develop novel drug therapy. So I'm doing clinical trials from first in humans, which we call phase 1, right up to phase 3 trials, which are trying to change the standard. And so this is a common question my patients ask me. But you can imagine the people I see are at very, very high risk of melanoma. And in fact, they're more high risk of the current melanoma they have causing their death. So when vitamin D comes up, it's about taking the tablets to replace it for them.
Yeah.
But you make a really good point. Vitamin D comes from the sun. It is an important part of our health. It's a balancing act.
But we obviously just need to wave at the sun in the morning. All three of us just need to wave at the sun.
A collective wave.
Within 5 minutes we're sorted. Yeah, okay.
So maybe walk to the mailbox if you live in, white picket fence neighbourhood where you've got a bit of a walk to the mailbox, or walk to the shops, or walking to the bus or the train, these sorts of things. We'll get a lot of vitamin D during summer months, not much else in winter, and it's something you can discuss with your general practitioner if you're concerned about your vitamin D levels, and certainly it's replaceable with tablets if needed.
Yeah.
Georgina, I hope it's okay if I call you Georgina now. I feel like we've known each other for ages.
We're friends now. We're friends.
Please do.
Gorgeous Georgina. So I actually would love to know exactly what is melanoma, because that word kind of actually strikes fear into most Australians these days. But what actually is it, and how does it happen?
Okay. The first thing is melanoma is a cancer. It's a type of cancer of the skin. We have many different types of cancer that can arise from the skin. One, for example, is called basal cell carcinoma, or BCC. Another is squamous cell carcinoma, or SCC. These two are much more common than melanoma. Melanoma is another cancer of the skin. It's one of the deadliest forms of cancer. BCC, I'm sure many of your listeners would have had a BCC. It's 1,000 times more common than melanoma, but it doesn't tend to spread. It doesn't tend to cause death. It just grows in the one spot. It still is a cancer. The scary thing about melanoma is that it spreads pretty easily. It likes to spread. So what I mean by that is when you get your first melanoma, and it's going to be on the skin, cutaneous melanoma we're talking about now. I'd like to distinguish that from mucosal melanoma. That's a different type of melanoma. It simply shares the name melanoma, but it is a completely different type of cancer, and that comes from inside the body. That's very rare, and it's different to what we're talking about today. We're talking about Australia's national cancer, which is cutaneous or skin melanoma.
Yeah.
So melanoma is the most deadliest, and that's because sometimes by the time you see it on your skin, most of the time it looks like a dark mole with jagged edges and funny colours within it, but need not necessarily look like a mole. It can have no colour in it. They're rarer, 20%. But sometimes by the time you spot it, the melanoma cancer cells already in the bloodstream and spreading. So that's the danger of melanoma. 15 years ago, if you got melanoma that had spread, so where you have secondaries, so either spreading to the lung or the liver or the brain or the bone, it was virtually universally fatal. It was terrible. Now that's changed with the drug therapies, but I don't want to have to give people drug therapies. I'd rather they don't get it in the first place. So that's why we're talking about prevention.
Exactly, rather than catch up. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't want to play catch up. But the way it happens is the UV, so there are these cells, without getting into too much detail, our skin is our largest organ in our body. It's huge. And within our skin, we have layers and we have different types of cells within it. So we have squamous cells, for example. We have some hair follicles and cells related to that. And we also have these cells called melanocytes. They're normal. All of us have them. Some of us only have a few of them. So very fair people might only have a few. Some of us have a lot of them. So darker people would have a lot more melanocytes. And they produce pigment. And they are a protection for our skin, especially when we have UV. They will produce pigment. That's how we get a tan.
Okay.
But that's them under trauma. That's the melanocytes, the normal cells going, I'm traumatized, UV. I'm going to produce pigment in the hopes that I can reflect some of this UV out so it doesn't affect you and destroy other normal cells in your body. But eventually, if you have too much of that UV and you have constant tanning, but also burns, the melanocytes can accumulate damage. And when they accumulate enough damage, they turn into a cancer and they grow uncontrollably. So the definition of a cancer are cells that are immortal and they won't die and they keep reproducing in a really uncontrolled way.
Yeah.
Because our skin normally produces layers and layers every day and it's very controlled.
Yes.
So that's what melanoma is, a cancer caused by mutations in melanocytes, and they form a cancer that we have termed melanoma.
Yeah. And you were saying that about, 10 to 15 years ago, it would be a death sentence, but these days it's not really, is it, necessarily? What sort of things have you guys been doing at that Melanoma Institute Australia?
What has Professor Long been doing?
Yeah, what things have you got for us?
Well, I'm very happy to talk about the drug therapies, but I think I should point out first.
Yes.
So we've talked about prevention, sun safety, slip, slop, slap, seek and slide.
Yes.
The 5 sun safety messages. Let's prevent it altogether so we don't get it. Then the second part of that is what we call secondary prevention. That is, if you are going to get it, let's get it early. So that's know the skin you're in, check it out yourself. If you see something changing, go and see a doctor. Because the point of that is if you catch skin melanoma early enough, the vast majority, over 90%, is cured with simple surgical excision.
Wow.
So we have about 18,500 cases of melanoma in this country each year. That's a diagnosis every 30 minutes.
Incredible.
If that's caught early, surgically removed, you're going to be fine 90% of the cases. It's the 10%, 5 to 10% where it spreads that kills.
Right.
So that's a really important take-home message. Not everyone with melanoma is going to die of it. It's only if it's spread. And that's where I've been working as a drug therapist. And the things we've done in melanoma have impacted many other cancers now. And the immune treatments specifically, which I'm happy to talk about, well, they're the most common drug now used in cancer, but it happened first in melanoma.
Right.
I'm happy to tell you how they work. So the way immune treatments work in cancer is they stimulate the immune system in a very specific way. It's not like, oh, I'm going to take turmeric because it stimulates my immune system. That's not what we're talking about here.
No, very targeted. Yeah.
Got my turmeric tea here, but I'll put it down.
And on that, turmeric, if taken at high doses, can be liver toxic. So that can interfere with our treatments at high doses. Anyway, the way it's done, it specifically impacts the handshake between a cancer cell and your immune system, because when cancer is growing in your body, your immune system thinks it's the self and it's going, oh, there's my friendly cancer over there. Oh, that's just self. See you later. You can keep growing. But our immune system's constantly having handshakes with what's in our body and constantly being told, leave that one alone. Kill that one. So our immune system, for example, is constantly shaking hands with our thyroid. And it knows that that's your thyroid and we're not going to destroy that, or shaking hands with joint cells and saying, no, that's self. I'm not going to destroy that joint. And when it comes to cancer, it does the same thing. But what our drugs do, they're called checkpoint inhibitors, they're immune therapies, is they interfere the friendly handshake. They interfere with that so that when the immune system shakes the hand of the cancer cell, it gets in there, stops the handshake, and allows the immune system to kill the cancer cell.
Says not friend, basically signals to the immune system, actually not your friend.
That's it, not your friend, let's kill it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like a virus or a bacteria.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It doesn't work for everybody though. And that's my area of passion.
Why is that? I'm intrigued as to why it wouldn't work for everybody.
Yeah, there's lots we're learning about that. In fact, that's not only do I run clinical trials with my medical oncology colleagues here at Melanoma Institute Australia, so Associate Professor Alex Menzies and Dr. Inesh De Silva, and the whole clinical trials team. They're amazing. We have 35 staff in our trials team, and they are absolutely superb. And the head of that clinical trials manager, Maria Gonzalez, amazing person. My passion, though, is developing drugs.
Yeah.
And before I did medicine, I did chemistry and a PhD and a postdoc and was in the States with that. So I love medical drugs we'll talk about. Medical drugs.
Yes.
Yes. I think we're all clear on that. Good. Medical drugs.
Medical drugs. But in the lab that I co-lead with my colleague Richard Scolliard, so now we're talking about the lab. He's a pathologist, so he looks down the microscope and looks at melanoma tissue after we've selected the drugs and worked them up. So that tissue is then used by our scientists to try and understand why some people respond and why some people don't.
Yeah.
We know a lot about why they respond. I can tell you a lot about the melanomas that respond, but we have not cracked yet why they don't respond. We have a few leads and a few things we see, but what I can tell you is that no two patients that are resistant to our immune treatment, so their tumour does not respond, it's not them, it's their tumour that's resistant, are alike. And there's multiple different ways of resisting your immune system. And that's what we're finding. But good news is we're working on that. And there are some interesting drugs that I'm working with in the first in human space that are hopefully going to help overcome for some patients who are resistant. It's not going to be one drug fixes all. So just to give you stats on that, we're curing about 55% of melanoma patients now where it's spread. Back in the day when I started, it was less than 5% would be cured.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they were cured with surgery. So 55%, great. We understand why they're responding, and that's because their immune system is recognizing their tumour. It's often people who have very high UV type melanoma, so lots of different mutations within them, so lots of UV, lots of different mutations that are weird and wacky for the immune system to click onto and go, hey, you're weird and wacky, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit easier for them to recognise them.
Correct.
But you've got some subtle ones who aren't so easy to pick out. Yeah.
Correct.
But I want to break it down for you, Professor Georgina. I think the problem is they want a fist bump and not a handshake. I think, medically, I think I've solved the problem today, right here, right now. What do you think?
The Janet Evans
right.
solution to melanoma recognition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of handshakes, I did want to talk to you about the Australian of the Year Awards because it was very incredibly exciting. I was so thrilled when I saw that you guys had won. You won it with that pathologist, Professor Richard Scolyer. And, but how has it change things for you? Like, how have you been using it, or are you tired of interviews like this? Or
exactly.
Oh, no.
Are you getting any work done, you poor things? Like, are other people having to cover all your jobs that you can't do anymore?
I mean, it's been a very different journey for Richard because he's got the brain cancer, and it's a different journey for him personally, of course. And for me, I'm passionate about what I do, you see. So I've been keeping up my day job, clinical trials, and my patients, and I've been doing the best I can, is all I can say. I do feel that this year is a special year. It's such an opportunity, and I just wish I could do more. So I don't feel overburdened because I think it's only a temporary 1 year to make the most of it.
True, you're almost there. Well,
I want to because I love the idea of making a difference. I do want to spend this year doing root foundational things that can make a difference. Here we go again. One thing we were able to do was get the federal government to invest in what we call a high-risk screening program. So you know how we talked about primary prevention, which is our best, that's our favourite, just be sun safe. Australia's beautiful. Get out there, get on your paddle boat, get to the beach, but just do it sun safely.
Yeah.
Then the secondary prevention is if you're going to get a melanoma, get it early. And so this is where this screening program pilot comes in. So we got an investment for the federal government to roll this out across the nation for high-risk people who are at high risk of melanoma. That will unfold over the next couple of years. It's going to be very important work. We know that having a screening program, so a skin check for every Australian on every street corner, ain't going to save lives. They did that study in Germany. It does not reduce the mortality from the death rate from melanoma.
Right.
So we've got to purposefully really focus in on the high risk, just as we do with bowel cancer screening. If you haven't done your poop and you're over 50, do it.
We
do
have.
It.
Love it. No, I'm sure we have. I hope you have, Janet.
Yeah, I love that one. It's very
Yeah.
satisfying, actually.
Yeah.
So we don't roll that out to everybody across Australia. It's only 50-year-olds and over, for example. Breast screen is not for every woman with breasts. It's 40 years and over or 50 and over. So all high risk. Women with family histories are very, very high risk. So similarly for melanoma, the other great advantage of melanoma, if there's any advantage, is that you can see it. So the rest of the population who aren't in the very high risk group, they've got to know the skin they're in. And they've got to, if they see something changing and not going away, see your doctor. It does not necessarily need to be dark and pigmented, but if it looks like a pimple and it just ain't going over a couple of weeks, get it checked out. And it's growing, get it checked out. So these sorts of messages are really, really important. But Janet, I've forgotten where we started.
No, tell us. No,
I often have that effect on people.
I'm going to interject. No, I'm going to be bossy. I'm never bossy, Georgina. Sorry. I want to know, how would you summarise high risk? Who are your really big target groups?
Beautiful question. By the way, you can look at your risk of a primary melanoma on our website, www.melanoma-risk.org.au. There's a suite of tools.
Brilliant.
The tools for the general public is risk of first primary melanoma, that's skin. We're talking skin here. It's for people who grew up in Australia because it says your age, your sex, and where you grew up, what state you grew up. That's important. Whether you've had any form of skin cancer, like the BCCs and the squamous cell carcinomas I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Whether you've had any melanoma, whether you've used a solarium, that puts you at high risk. And that will spit out your risk of melanoma. How many moles you have? Are you sort of no moles, a few moles, lots of
Holy
moles?
moly.
Molly, yeah. Molly mole, yeah.
Were you bullied for being molly, basically? Yeah.
Yeah. You put all of that together and you get a risk of your first primary melanoma. However, for this program, we're actually still working out those thresholds, what will go into it. So age will definitely be part of it.
Yeah.
Age and gender together.
Yeah.
Then we'll have other things like your nevi or mole count, things like family history. They will all become important. And then how fair your skin is. And then there's, of course, people with a genetic risk, but they're separate. That's rare to have a known genetic risk. They're not a huge part of our population, but they will be separate. So it'll be those factors, and where those thresholds are is exactly what we're working on right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so those people who are at high risk will then be able to have a screening skin check at regular intervals covered by our Australian taxpayers, basically.
So this is great. At the end of your reign, as it were, as Australian of the Year, you're going to leave us with this fantastic gift, hopefully, or very shortly afterwards, where we're going to have a screening available
for high risk.
For high risk. Yeah, fantastic.
And everyone else, know the skin you're in. Just know the skin you're in. Check it out. Get someone to check your back. But the other thing I wanted to try and achieve this year is get some investment in primary prevention.
Yeah.
And that means a enduring public health message, not something that just comes in the 1980s and disappears, but something that's enduring.
Bring Norm back. Bring Norm back and get him to slide and, do everything. Yeah.
Wasn't he the rubbish guy?
And put him on the social Norm Life be in it. The 80s were full of wonderful public health. Do you remember the kissing on smoker, enjoy the difference?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
That's right.
There was Norm Life be in it to get us all exercising.
That's right.
Kissing on smoker, enjoy the difference. Slip, slop, slap for the UV. There were so many.
Click, clack, front and back.
They were trying.
Yes.
Yeah. It's got a rhyme. It's got a rime. We could come up with something today.
Janet's background is advertising. So,
right.
Janet, baby, this is a window of opportunity for you.
We need some very pale influencers. That's what we need, Actually, I want to get a burkini for this summer. I really want one of those. I think they are so cool.
So there's another thing, right? Fashion. Now we have to talk about fashion. So this glamorization of tanning is fashion. We want to get influencers onto it. Anything that's enduring, we've got to make it through social media. We've got to talk to people the way they take up information. So, if you're an 80-year-old, maybe it is that you're still in front of your TV or whatever, right? If you're a 40-year-old bloke, over 40s tend not to look after themselves, don't wear rashies, they think it's all too late for them, whatever their thing. We have to target that population in the right way. Similarly for adolescents, and the Australian Bureau of Statistics just released on, I think it was the 3rd or 4th of September, statistics about sun behaviour, and over a quarter of females in this country surveyed between 15 and 24 have sought a tan in the last 12 months with the UV, not a fake tan. We're calling real UV damage. These are huge statistics. So we've got to talk to the different populations in the right way. I am not an expert at that, but, the
it doesn't
advertising.
Matter. You're an expert at some other really awesome things, so don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty.
The after effects.
Thanks, Amelia. Yeah. I don't feel guilty, but it would be so wonderful to get the best minds onto this. Those great ads you'd never forget? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
My mother, who I love, my goodness, she's an amazing woman. She's 85. She's just a power pack. She always talks about the latest Telstra ads. She just loves them.
They're really good, aren't they? No, I didn't do them.
I believe they're quite left of centre. I mean, she's a groovy 85-year-old.
Oh, she's so groovy.
Yeah.
Oh, my mum is the most groovy woman. and she's just, in the 70s, late 70s, when I was a little bubba boo-boo. Yeah. I'm one of 6.
Wow.
But our family conversations were all about public health because that was her big thing, yeah. So we got for Christmas Kissing on Smoke and Enjoy the Difference T-shirts for the 80s. So this is the sort of parenting I had. And my dad was right behind it in every single step of the way. He'd put on lipstick at the cricket because we didn't have sunscreen. So he'd wear my mum's white. I've got to protect my lips.
Oh,
and this
that's
is the
fantastic.
80s.
Yeah.
And we're going,
I thought maybe that was that pink breast cancer thing that he was getting into.
Well, that didn't
maybe
exist
that's where they got
back
the
then.
idea from. Yeah.
Yeah, remember the pink ribbon didn't start till when?
Yeah.
When did the pink ribbon start? It wasn't back then, but it did start.
2000 something? Yeah. Yeah, that's all
but
we need.
we should look that up.
But good on him, because they've done studies, haven't they, that show that women are less likely to get cancers on their lips because we wear lipstick. And it does actually afford a bit of protection.
A little bit of protection, yeah.
And that chapstick's SPF, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we need the best, my point is we need the best minds on this, on how to impact different groups who need different messages. And one thing I'd love to achieve this year is to coordinate across our federation the same message across the country. And the way to do that is we've got these wonderful authorities or groups, many of them philanthropic, so the cancer councils within each state, get them together, pool the resources so that we have one ad that all the adolescents are seeing, one ad the 40-year-old men are seeing, one ad that women over, et cetera, et cetera.
Like so one message for the nation for each of those groups, yeah.
Yeah, and then you might have 2 or 3 ads, but everyone sees the same ad. So you may have 2 or 3 for adolescents, right? And then they're all chattering around the same fantastic ads, like if they're really great, over the social media, on the different platforms, and really get the best minds on how to get the message across. But the thing is, it costs $2.8 billion, skin cancer, not just melanoma, $2.8 billion. That's your pocket and my pocket as a taxpayer for skin cancer. If we can prevent the UV exposure giving us skin cancer, we stand to save so much money. For every dollar spent on prevention, we will get at least $4 back in the next 10 to 20 years. And in Western Australia, their stats was $1 spent, nearly $9 back.
Brilliant.
So let's do that. Let's get together and prevent it altogether.
Exactly. I was going to say, I could totally throw my weight behind that kind of idea. I think that's marvellous, actually, Georgina. Hadn't heard that before. Love it.
I could definitely give you $4. Definitely.
You could use $4.
Yeah.
Tax saving.
That's
there you go. For every dollar, now you get $4 back.
I think we need to ban the tan. Ban the tan, basically.
Ban the tan, yes.
And,
sun safety, yeah.
Yeah. If you could wave a magic wand, what would you say to each one of us listening today about how to treat and prevent melanoma and get to them early so that we don't need to see people like you professionally ever? So basically doing yourself out of a job.
Yeah, great question. The incidence is still rising of melanoma, particularly in the older age group. It still is the most common cancer in 20 to 39-year-olds, but 20 to 39-year-olds don't get cancer. But if they're going to get one in this country, it's going to be melanoma. Remember, when caught early, it is cured with simple surgical excision. So my message to everybody would be, it's never too late to be sun safe. Even if you're 80, it's never too late to be sun safe. It will decrease your risk of melanoma and skin cancer. Number 2, know the skin you're in. If you see something changing, it doesn't have to look like a mole. If it's changing, growing, and not getting better over a few weeks, go and see your doctor. Number 3, let's all get behind this primary prevention. Let's get out there, enjoy this wonderful country. I love Australia, and I do love the landscape, the geography of this place, the colours from the top end right down to Tasmania, the vastness of it. Get out there, but do it sun safely. And respect the land, waters and sky, just as the Indigenous people have for thousands and thousands of years, long before these high-risk people with pale skin got here. But let's all respect it. Own your tone, know the skin you're in, and work together to make Australia the great place it is.
Absolutely love it. And I just have one final question for you. Professor Georgina. You have been the most gorgeous guest. We love you so much. But what do you think about when you're running? Do you actually think about chemical formulas and drugs and things like that? Or, what do you think? Or do you think about the next Gatorade?
It depends. I actually like doing triathlon, so swimming, cycling and running. If I'm really pushing it, hard pace, I'm counting. Can you believe that? Okay. So it's like meditation, counting. But if I'm just doing a slow sort of fitness thing, then I'll be listening to a podcast, listening to great discussions, trying to push my mind and learn. Yeah. There's one podcast I really love as well. Am I allowed to say that?
Is it called She Wasn't Born Yesterday?
Absolutely are.
Wiser Than Me. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard
I have actually.
Yeah, Wiser Than Me. It's wonderful. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I always get it mixed up, interviews older women and they talk about their lives and messages for younger women. And the one thing they always say, what I would tell my 21-year-old self, just relax. It's okay. It'll all be fine. Anyway, that's what I do when I'm running, and news, lots of news podcasts, just catching up on the world. There's a lot happening.
And now you've got another one to listen to.
I sure do. Lovely Janet and Amelia, you guys have been amazing and so much fun.
And are you looking forward to next year when you're not Australian of the Year and you can just relax a bit more?
Oh, look, you know what? Life is so precious. I look forward to every day. We are very lucky and very grateful.
I don't think you ever relax, actually. My feeling is
so.
You are not that person. So actually, same. It's going to be the same next year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful to be able to talk about things I'm passionate about. How lucky am I?
Gorgi, we hope you enjoyed this episode, but we'd love to get to know you better and share more about our lives, what we get up to, what you get up to, and some insider goss and cheeky sneak peeks.
So why not join our Facebook group? It's called She Wasn't Born Yesterday, for lots of little extras. Your chance to comment, make suggestions, tell us if there's a topic you'd like us to talk about.
Or just to say g'day. Either way, join us next week on She Wasn't Born Yesterday. We look forward to your company.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.